And I think we're live, Sarah. It's been a
Yeah,
while.
nice to join you on a show. I always feel so bad. Both our pictures are on the banner, and I'm hardly ever here.
No,
So
but you're always here. I tell people all the time. I mean, she's not on the camera, but she's in the feed. I mean, we
yeah,
decided to do it this way, so it works for us.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
what works for us. So it's definitely appropriate.
Well, I'm glad to be on this side of it.
Yes, yes, yes. And I felt like I wanted to have you talk about, leadership. I know you had this discussion a few weeks ago about becoming the Inc. 5000 and some, what that
Yeah,
entailed. But I thought, all right, let's get a little bit more granular, right? Because if anyone who's in business, if you're an entrepreneur, we all know the challenges that arise, right? When you're trying to scale a business, trying to hire people, trying to create culture. So I wanted you to take us back, Sarah, all right, take us back to maybe 10 years ago or 7 years ago when you decided you were going to do this particular company. And take us through some of the highs and lows, on your way here to where we are today.
yeah. It's so interesting when you asked me to fill a spot and gave me the title "Navigating Leadership in a Fast-Growing Company."
Mm-hmm.
I thought like, wow, there's this whole term going around. I just did a Forbes article on it on imposter syndrome. But in this case, I thought it's not really imposter syndrome as much as it is real in that you think you can navigate in fast growing companies. What you're really doing is just controlling the direction because so much of what's happening is happening to you. It's not happening through you. And I think there's a lot of leaders that maybe when reflecting, they can say, oh, this led to that or that led to this. But when you're in it, you are trying to just make sure that you're steering the ship. And I started this company 8.5 years ago by accident. My first meeting caused me like a $20,000 deficit on my personal credit card. I was a single mom. I did not have $20,000 to spend on my personal credit card for this. I don't know what made me keep going, but I think what it was seeing the magic of having all of these people in a room learning about something new and then realizing that's what they're going to use to practice on patients with cancer the next time they see them. And I thought like, what a beautiful seat to sit in. And I tagged a bunch of people in this episode for them to watch at some point because they all came to my mind and heart in some way, whether it's a long time ago or very recently. Um, in the building blocks in the story of total health. And this business I started in my guest bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
I then moved to like a rent to office kind of thing where you just rent a room. And then I thought, oh, I need to get a bigger office. I hired 2 interns using the money that I made from my full-time job. I thought, oh, I need a bigger office, something kind of snazzy and swanky until I saw the price tags and I was like, that's not going to work. And so I rented an apartment, a 2 bedroom apartment. And I had, 3 people sitting in one room. And I had the master bedroom, which was the office. I remember a rep from AstraZeneca coming and he answered the phone. His wife was calling him and he answered the phone. He said, oh, I can't talk to you. I'm in Sarah Loudon's bedroom. And it just was like, those are the stories that make you realize like this was not a planned journey to where we
Yeah.
are. Um, One significant thing happened. There was this young woman, I won't name her, but I did tag her so she'll know who she is. She was between jobs and she said, hey, can I consult for you and maybe like make a little bit of money on the side? I said, yeah, sure. And she gave me an idea about the conferences that was kind of a well-known idea in the commercialization of conferences, but it radically changed the business. we went from kind of selling tables, selling registration tickets, to being able to be a company that it reinvested the monies that we made in various meetings into other initiatives that really reached people differently. She revolutionized the business. She still, I didn't give the details. She still doesn't know how big of an impact she was. And it actually makes me feel like I should pick up the phone and call her, because I think that that was the start of us, however many years later, becoming a $10 million business on the Inc. 5000.
What made you listen? So, you had your ideas. You're an entrepreneur. This wasn't your first rodeo, right?
Right?
And you
Right?
launched it out. What made you listen to that?
She was hungry. She was hungry. And I was hungry. And I think, I still am hungry. Like, I'm still the person that's constantly looking for ways to turn a
Mm-hmm.
profit. And
Mm-hmm.
it goes way, I mean, I have friends. I tagged another friend who, he and I share kind of this psychosis of like, we're gonna die poor one day because we mismanaged our money. And when I tell you, if you called me and said, hey, I have an opportunity for us to sell, designer knockoff handbags on the corner of the street, would you join me every Saturday? Girl, book me. I'm gonna be sitting next to you, because I'm a hustler. I'm
Mm-hmm.
hungry. And she was hungry. She was like, listen to this idea, and presented it to me, and then said, and I'll do the work. And she said, and I won't eat unless I kill these deals. So I'm not asking you for any money, but I'm asking you for a piece if it works. And that changed my company. It changed me, but it changed my company dramatically.
Interesting. We both attend the same church, and the pastor said Hebrew is read backward, right? So we should look at life. We never understand where we are until we remember where we're coming from. So as you're looking backward, right? What were some of the highs of, that was a big pivotal moment. But I know you have highs and I know you have lows. And I know we'll talk a little bit about scaling too, and
Yeah.
what that entails. But
One of my best memories, I had two interns working with me, Dalen Miller and Megan Coughlin. These girls also changed my life. They deposited so much into the ether of my universe. And I like to think I deposited a lot into theirs as well. Um, we were small. We were super
yeah.
small. I was still using my salary to pay them. We hadn't moved into our apartment office. We were still in that kind of like rent to office, by the hour kind of thing. And I got a grant. I worked really hard on getting this grant for CDK4/6 inhibitors, and like 3 different companies. I knew I was going to get 2 of them, but the third one, the drug had not come to market yet. And I got this notification, your grant has been approved. And it was like, oh my gosh, all of a sudden I have a surplus. And I remember I went to buy them. They were, young girls, always talking about, oh, I love this, whatever, Michael Kors bag or Tory Burch bag, or, this perfume I love, or whatever it was. And I remember I was meeting them to work at Panera Bread, because again, that was our office. And I went to the mall and I bought big bags for them. And I walked into Panera Bread and I kissed them both on the cheek and handed them the bags. And I said, we got the 3rd grant. And that was a pivotal moment for me too, because that was the day that I made the commitment that when the company wins, everybody wins.
Yeah.
And I've kept that commitment the last 8.5 years of running this business. When the company does well, all of us do well. You don't see me buying a boat or going, to Morocco, or the company does well, we all do well.
One of your tenets, one of your personal philosophy is you practice radical, piggybacking on what you said, you practice radical generosity. And actually we had on a perfume, the cologne that you gave us at our last team training meeting, which I thought, me being new to the company, I know you've been doing this for the last so many years, right? But it was such a wonderful gift. And it reminded me in the Bible, Sarah, where Jesus said, it doesn't matter if the person came at 1 o'clock or it's 10 o'clock, we all got the same gift. And so the person who was just joining the company a week ago got the same, felt the same validation as a person who might have been here 5 years ago or whatever.
Yeah.
And I thought it was just really special. What made you, what gave it, was that the time, was that the point where you felt like, I am going to be a radical giver? Because there's giving and then there's radical giving.
Yeah, I love that analogy that you made with whether it comes at 1 o'clock or 10 o'clock. Where I am with that is like, we're a team, right? There's no hierarchy. It's like you think we're in football season. You think your quarterback and your running backs, your wide receivers, your defensive line, like if everyone isn't operating at their best, doesn't matter if they're newly drafted, if they're an old dog that just got picked up, if everyone is not operating at their best, our team's not making it. And I think you have to balance that with, you really want people to smile. I really want people to smile. I know we do hard work, and we've been in this season that kind of feels a little never ending of like catching up, fixing mistakes, grabbing our processes, taking control again. That's tiring. And it's like, I don't want people to think that I don't still see them. I still know that the work is hard. And I know that kind of the constant battering of like, oh, when am I going to get this right? I'm in that same seat where I'm like, when am I going to get this leadership thing right? When am I going to get this scaling thing right? And I want people to know that I see them, and I want to see them smile. So that, it balances both a little bit of the teamwork and a little bit of the radical giving.
Now, anyone who works with you knows that you'll say what's on your mind, right? You'll just say it. And you're very vulnerable too. You practice vulnerability, and you just mentioned that you're trying to get leadership right. You're trying to get scaling right. I know this is something that you've personally, it's a personal goal for you.
Yeah.
And you didn't just say it, you actually invest a lot of money in it. You invest a lot of money in leadership development, in coaching, consultants. You do. I can certainly say that. So let's talk about scaling and why is that so challenging? Because it has been challenging.
Yeah.
What do you think it is? Yeah.
Here's the thing. I want to just give a shout out to Wayne Gill, who has an incredible newsletter for business leaders. It's probably more geared towards men because Wayne has a passion for men's ministry. He's a lawyer, incredible lawyer, in case anybody's looking for someone to represent their company. Fantastic human being. I read his newsletter today, and it was like, the picture was something like, most of us stay in this complacency zone, 50% of people are here, and then there's like this big radical climb between where most people stay and this 2% that actually like make it.
Right.
And I read the newsletter, and I read the article in the newsletter, and I thought, like, I don't know that I agree with any of that stuff. Meaning, conceptually, principally, 100% I agree with that.
Yeah.
100%. Most people stay in the comfort zone, never trying anything else. But the thing where I disagree is, like, if you're in this 50% and then there's this top 2% performer, 2% top performers, I don't know that that's the goal. I think the goal is taking the risks, trying the things that like match your purpose and passion, recognizing quickly as fast as you can when it doesn't, and then finding the next incremental step. So maybe it's not you're moving from that 50% zone into the 2% zone. Maybe you're going from 50% to 53%. Because I think that's where I fell. Because here I am, it's like, oh, you're like that, you're this, wow. And then I'm in the seat of like, wow, as a leader, I have so many more resources. I can do so much more. I'll never forget, I was met by the COO, maybe, it wasn't the CEO, but COO of Cardinal Health. Going back, my son's 20, going back maybe 20 years. Sat in front of me and said to me, I said, wow, you could do these amazing things. And I started giving this list. So at that time, I'm like 27. And they said, they looked back at me and they said, that's not what we do. What we do is deliver goods and services that fit in the back of a truck. We bring it right up to a cancer center, and that's what we do. We don't go out of that. Now, the takeaway for me at the time was, wow, you have so much and you do so little. Of course, they don't do so
Right.
little.
Right.
But the takeaway for me in this season is I got to know who I am first to be able to put the lens of what's possible into what we do best. Not just because it's possible, should it be the leadership mission. And that's where I've spent the last year trying to redefine the identity of like us, our business, me, and Sharon. It's been a long road back to I liked who I was at the beginning, and I'd like to get back to that place. Doesn't mean I failed in these other things. It means that those things don't fit in the back of the truck.
Yeah. You know, and for those leaders who are watching, it's sometimes hard to, to admit this, but I think it's better to admit it, course correct, than to continue because it's what everyone else suggests or it's what it seems right. I think the important thing is to try.
Yeah.
You know, and I think being a fortune, a 5,000 company or I think doing the makeup of that psyche, right, is for people who try. Failure
Yes.
is you fail forward. And so
Yeah.
we're not a failure because the programs didn't work, because failing is part of growing.
Yeah.
Right. And if we don't try things, we don't know.
Yeah.
But sometimes like it comes back to that cardinal's conversation. This is who we are and this is what we do.
Yeah.
And sometimes we won't appreciate who we are and what we do unless we try something else.
Absolutely. Unless we tried and we realized that there was no space. I mean, one of the people I tagged, her name's May McCarmo, and she is the head of the Tiger Lily Foundation.
Yeah.
And you have Sue Friedman from Force, Debbie Donardi's on her team, Ricky Fairley from the Touch, the Black Breast Cancer Alliance. All these people who do patient programming really well started from a place of I am a patient. My life was touched, very much like you, Sharon. My life was touched. And so I feel a calling to help touch other people. And they do it well because it's part of who they are. I was diagnosed with an autoimmune disease 6 years ago, and it changed my life. And I felt that call to do something in the patient world. Sharon, that's not what fits in my truck.
Right.
And so I feel, one of the things you said was like failing forward. I would challenge us to start saying falling forward. We didn't fail.
Right.
You don't fail. Like Wayne's newsletter said, the only failure is not trying. The only failure is hoarding the gifting you have to be able to do something, but being fearful that it's not going to succeed. What is success? Who's defining that for us? And so if you start looking in social media and all these press releases and everything, and if I say, wow, I can't get one program to work in this way or one patient education to work in this way, but look at Mayma, she's so successful. We're two different human beings being called to do two different things. The mirror of comparison can be so deadly to leaders. Yeah. And I really, I want to look at when you're training in any way, running track, playing football, anything, any sport, any competitive thing that requires you to be strong, you're gonna fall. Like you're gonna skin your knee, you're gonna break your shoulder, you're gonna get a black eye. You don't stop in that moment and say, wow, I failed. All right, turn it all around. We're going back home. You fall forward. And I'd like to think that that's where we are in re-examining what it is we're doing for 2024 and beyond.
You know, one of the things you mentioned when you mentioned Mema and Ricky, and you said they have a calling because they, like myself, they've been diagnosed, right? So it's a mission, right? They're being remission.
Yes.
But your calling, just even when I think about your dad and his legacy in you, right? The total health, the way how you've done it up till now, has been your calling.
Yeah.
And I do admire and respect the fact that you were willing to look outside of the edges of your calling to see if there was room, and you invested, right?
Yeah.
You not just looked, you said, okay, I'm going to put my feet out here and here and here. But then you're always, leadership part of you is always very logical, and so you assess, you reassess, and you regroup. Let's talk a little bit about leadership. Uh Actually, there's a question for you here. As a leader, what are some qualities you look for in the team members you supervise? And
Listen, the most important thing is like honesty. Be
yeah.
honest. You messed up, be honest.
Hmm.
You thought something, be honest. You didn't do something, be honest. I think honesty, no matter what level you are, entry level to executive, to have a person that's able, you can take to the bank what they say to you. And Maureen, who's asking this question, that's what she has. She's radically honest and sometimes hard to hear, but
Hmm.
radically honest. And I just think that's such an undervalued, I think probably even more than loyalty, because you can't have loyalty without honesty.
Right.
So
That's true.
I would say that would be the major quality I would look for.
You make a lot of investment in leadership, the personal leadership development, leadership training. What do you think is some of your Achilles heel or weakness?
I'm so emotional. I'm
Mm.
so emotional. Like in the shower, I'm the best version of myself because against that wall. I am direct. I'm like, listen, I'm going to tell you like it is. And then when I'm in front of the person or the group, I just am a mess. Like, I'm just like, so it's really, that's probably my Achilles heel. And what I have to realize is in trying to take care of the feelings and emotions of someone else, I'm hurting myself, my business, and my team. And if you really asked, do you want to hurt this so that you could be kind of not even nicer? Because things are inevitable.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, it's better to just rip that Band-Aid. It's better to just be so honest about the season is over. Like we have to
Mhm,
move on. That's really, it's my Achilles heel. It's my
mhm.
Achilles heel.
How would you describe your strengths? What
Um, my
strongest?
strengths
Yeah,
are my
yeah.
strengths are seeing and understanding people. I mentioned, I put in the chat, I actually put Arturo, but I didn't put Celine, and I really wanted to put both of them now that I think about it. Arturo Loaiza Bonilla is a GI oncologist,
Mhm.
and he is co-founder of this company called Massive Bio. And Celine Carnas is his partner, one of his partners. I have known Celine as long as I've been a mom. And Celine has gone through more reinventions than Madonna, but always her core calling was helping people through a cancer diagnosis. Now, how she was going to do that changed directions a few times until, I started seeing activity, Celine and Arturo. And then all of a sudden I see this press release that says, I'm going to get it wrong, guys, but Massive Bio raises $25 million. And, this is what their international expansions and AI and all this fun stuff. And I remember sitting there thinking right away, Celine, her 1-bedroom apartment, her mom all the way in Turkey, like all of the things that made Celine hungry. And
Mhm.
I see that. That's a superpower. I see the person. I don't see the words they're saying. I don't see the title that they hold. I try to figure out, who are you? What do you want? How do you serve? And how can we work together to get somewhere? And that would be my strongest leadership skill.
Before we're going to end on 2024 programs, but let's talk about 2023 programs. You have a lot on the calendar this year. So while we have this space, what do you want to talk about? What do you want to push about our programs this year?
Yeah. So everything changed in medical education after COVID.
Mm-hmm.
There's probably a million industries that changed. Movie theaters, like everything changed. Doctors, nurses, nurse practitioners, PAs, pharmacists, they have a million options. Not just do they have a million options, but many of their options include either not doing something at all or doing it in their own time, in their own way. 2023's programs, and I think we are far enough outside of COVID to say we moved as an event industry, because I've been to the other events. There's no other company that's doing like these radical things that are getting, millions of people in a room.
Right.
You have your anchor events, ASCO, ESMO, SABCS, these huge events, tens of thousands of people come in. There used to be a middle. There used to be like 300 people, 600 people. We used to play in that space. Now it's 75 to 100 people. And you might say, like, why should that matter? Well, one, it should matter because many more people should be educating themselves about what's the latest in cancer care. That's number one. But we have to balance that with these people are extremely busy and they're facing burnout, like the rest of us. They're being asked to manage with less and do more. And so what happens at that, spot of 100? It makes us, a company that used to have 300, 400, 500 people, feel, what are we doing wrong? And so the thing that I really want to kind of convey to the audience is, one, in the spirit of that I just said, one of my superpowers is that I see you. I see you. My friends are physicians, are nurses, are people who are working in clinics who are drained. I've got another person I listed. She keeps a note, a section in her notes in her phone of all the patients she loses.
Oh, wow.
I know that. I know that. I see that this isn't easy. Plus,
Yeah.
being forced to do EMR, plus, all these pathway integrations, plus you got to keep up with the knowledge, plus now AI is here. Plus, there's all these changes in administration where hospitals, this is one of the reasons why One Oncology, I tagged Duncan Allen, who used to run the One Oncology programs when they gave us the pleasure of running their first annual. These people have choices. And I want to ask you to always think of us. We do really good programs. We always cater to your experience. We have phenomenal speakers. We don't only get the white tower, gray hair white man to come and speak at podium. We've got young Black women. We've got Spanish women. I actually was just told by a attendee, I did an article on this, that, some of the speakers have very thick accents. We should do something about that. Welcome to the United States of America. Your patients might have thick accents.
Yeah.
Work through it. Listen, she's got something to say. We do good programs, and I just want to ask that when you see something that you might like to attend, know that it's always going to be free for you, because we've seen you since COVID managing budgets. It's always going to be in a place that honors your time. We try to always pick our venues somewhere where you can bring a family, because God knows we bring our families when we go. It's always going to be uplifting. We've got excellent speakers, excellent content, longest private company relationship with ASCO, exclusive relationship with ESMO and for the USA. And I will tell you, if I am ever at a meeting with you, I will walk through that room and pray not only for you, but for your staff and your patients, that you come there and you get something from us that will change someone's life. I give you that commitment. I've been doing it for the last 8.5 years. I don't see an end to it coming, because I believe that we are a vehicle for the answer of people who are crying in their most vulnerable time. And that's the blessing that we get to be as Total Health. So I just ask you to look at our programs. I want you to look at our 2024 programs. We'll post a link. I think Peter has already done it. Post a link to next year's programs. Lots of new cities. And I look forward to seeing you in one of those seats.
And I'll just touch on this before we wrap it up. One, you mentioned, about the podium and representation. And I know one of the disappointing programs for you this year has been the support or the lack of support that we would need for our program called Seek, which I know that you have a passion for health disparities and inequities and correcting that and righting that wrong. And we've invested heavily in our Seek program. We've done 3 or 4 programs already and was willing to go further and do even other things. Yet for all the talk about DEI and disparities and socioeconomic, issues, and social determinants of health, we just haven't seen that support. How disappointed are you in that? We're not going to try to get personal with anything.
Yeah. No, listen, it's like that saying, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Mm-hmm.
I think when you think about disparities, first of all, it's just like saying Hispanic. It's so big. It's too little a word to describe the bigness of the thing. And you say, like, okay, it's so big and it feels unsolvable. And there's a lot of noise. There's a lot of noise around it. So it's like, oh, well, things are getting done.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not affecting the Black woman, the Sharon, I posted about a study done 16 years ago where people spoke Spanish, called with only a Spanish language to a cancer center, asking for resources to help them get through something big in their cancer. And the person answering, it's like, I don't speak Spanish, just looking around. Can anybody help this person? They only speak Spanish. 16 years ago. They just replicated that study. I wish I could remember the investigator. It's on my feed. An investigator just replicated that study. Would you believe the numbers haven't changed 1%? 1%, the numbers haven't changed. So if you're a non-English speaker and you pick up the phone to call a cancer center, nobody's there. Nobody's there. Maybe a big cancer center, they can put you to the translation service. Nobody's there at the little ones where 80% of the patients are being seen. If you're a young Black woman and you're diagnosed with breast cancer, you're going to die at a rate 40% greater than a white woman diagnosed with the same cancer. Why haven't we solved that? Why aren't we even asking the questions of how we solve it in some material way? Not just words coming out of our mouth, but studies being designed specifically to answer that question. And like you said, why isn't there an abundance of people from pharma, from diagnostics, from healthcare, from education? I mean, I spent $500,000 on this effort this year. $500,000 I've spent with seemingly no ROI. But you know what? We don't know what we reap from the things that we sow. It may not be immediately that something is reaped, but I believe that the seeds we planted along this year for disparities, it's going to reap a harvest because it has to. It has to.
I agree. Now, we came up with the name T-Talk because we wanted to invigorate T cells, right? So I want to give you the final words, right, for the audience, for the ones who are going to watch on the replay. What do you want to leave us with from a leadership perspective, and a visionary perspective? What do you want to leave us with today?
Don't underestimate how much power a kind word, a novel idea, a shoulder to lean on, an encouragement, a rough encouragement, like get the hell up, don't stay on the ground this long. Don't underestimate what that means to people along their life and leadership journey. The people who I tagged, I hope that they get to this part of the talk. Each one of them, no matter if they were in my life for a minute or 10 years, each one, and there's so many more, but I just posted tagged who I could think of as I was thinking. Each one of them has made such a mark on me. And they may be looking at that and saying, what mark did I leave? You left a mark on me. So don't underestimate that just because it's never known to you. Don't underestimate that. Keep giving people your love, your time, your encouragement, your devotion, your skill, your talent. Keep giving it, because life's too short to store it all up. For what? Just goes bad. Keep giving it.
A good word. And I will just say, I mean, you had a lot of your team members on here talking about how you are, and they say it's not what you say, it's what the people it's what the people say about you. And you've seen the comments. And I would just want to end by saying I would never have been exposed to any of this. You said that the investment that you made must reap something. And I know for me that my life was altered. My own trajectory of where it was going was altered by the experience of coming to Total Health, being part of your efforts since last August, and then kind of like coming on board and kind of like digging in. And for this leg of the journey, wherever this journey takes us or whatever, I will forever be changed, impacted because of what you did. So I want to thank you for that. I want to thank you for that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yes.
I appreciate it, and I can't wait to see, so many of us I started with you as an intern in your magazine, and then here you are here, and we didn't keep a close connection.
No, we didn't.
It wasn't like, we were monthly for friends or texting friends or anything. We didn't keep a connection. You never know.
Yes.
You always kind of think ahead and say, wow.
Yeah.
Again, thinking about failure. Oh, that didn't work. You don't know.
Yeah.
You don't know what worked and didn't work. The story's not over. You still have lots of chapters left.
That's a great point. That is a great point. That's why I tell people, don't burn bridges, folks.
Yes.
Don't burn bridges. You never know. Like Sarah said, 30 years, we didn't keep in touch, but here I am. So you never know. You never know. Well, thank you guys for watching and for your comments and for your feedback. Thank you, Sarah, for sitting in the hot seat today and not staying in the chat, being on camera. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Yes. And we'll see you guys on Wednesday. You can still leave your comments in the feed, in the chat, because Sarah or myself will continue to answer. So take care, guys.
Thank you.
Bye.